So we're back working on the 1955 Ford F100 project. In the last episode, I built some custom engine mounts and got that 5.3 liter installed, mounted, looking good. And today, we're working on exhaust headers. But before I get into that, I got a little modification to do on the engine mounts. Okay, so I've been struggling to find exhaust manifolds that will fit my engine swap, and sadly those stock Escalade truck manifolds do not fit, so I'm gonna have to get a little bit creative. So we've got an assortment of manifolds and headers here. These are all of the ones that I could find for cheap that I think have the potential to fit. The first one we got here is kind of like the standard cheap log manifold style, whatever. Probably the worst flowing as well, and I'm gonna say probably the heaviest manifold too. Next up we have the 2010 to 2015 Camaro SS manifold, and it's pretty obvious right off the bat that this is a copy of this manifold. They're like almost identical. Next up we have the very generic Shorty headers, and I got the ones with the V-band. That's clearly a lot smaller than your typical 2-bolt flange, so that'll make it a little more likely to fit. These guys, I don't know. They stick up so much more than both of the manifolds, so if I can use a Shorty header, I'll probably pick up a couple of horsepower realistically. And these things, I'm sure, just by picking them up are gonna be a lot lighter because these are pretty thin like stainless steel. And then last but not least is what Amazon calls the turbo front-facing header. So this is actually supposed to be the passenger side, and these are meant to shoot straight out forward like this for a turbo application. But being that this is an LS motor, and yet another reason why these motors are awesome for swaps is that you can flip-flop your headers. So I'm gonna go ahead and test fit the passenger side and just point it straight backwards. If Engine Masters has taught me anything, I'm gonna say that this one is gonna be the best flowing because of the 3-inch diameter extension. And just look at them. These are definitely the most header-looking headers that I have here. So let's go ahead and weigh these guys real quick. All right, first up, truck manifolds. These are gonna be the heaviest, for sure. Oh, we're in kilograms. I was like 5 pounds. That is not too bad. There you go, 13 pounds. Actually, you know what? I'll do this also in kilograms for all my non-American friends. Okay, which equates to just under 6 kilograms. Okay, heavy boys. Next up, log manifolds. These actually might be the heaviest. I'm gonna call it, these guys are just a hair heavier. 13.8 pounds. So yes, indeed, just a hair heavier, just over 6 kilograms. Okay, next up, Camaro, noticeably lighter, 5 kilograms, 11 pounds. Cool, okay. Shorty manifolds. These things are very light. These are probably the lightest of the bunch. 5 pounds. So, or I guess just under 6 pounds. So that's like half the weight. 2.6 kilograms. I don't know kilograms well, but that does not seem like a lot. 5.8. These guys are gonna be pretty close. A little heavier. Yeah, actually a good bit heavier. 7.6 pounds. 3.4 kilograms. Okay, well, there you go. A few other considerations. I will say that both of these OEM manifolds have heat shields, and I know from experience that makes a huge difference keeping engine bay temperatures down. And then if wires are close to these things, this will prevent them from melting. So I like that. And I'm gonna guess that OEM stuff is probably a little bit better quality. In fact, this thing, I'm sure they're fine, but it's already broken from the mail, thanks Amazon. And just by looking at the casting, I can tell it's kind of low quality. These things are super cheap. I want to say like $135, so that's a bargain. These things, that's hard to say. Metal is obviously very thin, but it's cool that they're stainless. Anyway, on to the main event, and I'm going to measure every single one of these. I know that won't be very interesting or useful to everybody, but that will be extremely useful to a handful, maybe a few people, because header fitment on swaps is always one of the most challenging parts. And I'm gonna throw out some good karma into the car world and give you really good measurements on all of these guys. Hopefully help you with your own swap. Okay, contestant number 1 is the standard truck manifold. The costs on these things are the absolute lowest. I think I saw a set posted for like $25. In fact, you can have mine when I'm done because I'm not going to use them. And these things actually don't fit too bad. They do pop out at an angle a little bit more than others, which, I mean, header fitment is very car dependent. So that actually could be good for some of you guys out there if you're trying to tuck a steering shaft back in under, like I was going to do originally. But now that I have my steering shaft kind of vaguely mocked up in the center of this, it's definitely going to be very disruptive. I've got a mock-up steering shaft right here, and it's not even close. These are the worst fitting headers, I think, in my particular case. I mean, you know, actually, going behind them isn't too bad, but not even close. I mean, really, it just needs to go straight through the center of this right here. Real quick, I'll get some measurements for you, and I'll take some measurements from the block surface right there. The stick out from that point is like 6 and some change, maybe like 6 1/4. And the stick out from the mating surface to above more or less the engine mount, we're looking at like 3 1/4. From the flange to the top of the port, about 8 inches. And just the overall angle of this dangle here is kind of like a little bit outward. Not quite a flat downward angle, maybe like just between a 45 degree and a whatever straight down angle might be. Okay, let's do the next one. All right, contestant number 2 is your basic log manifold. This has a lot more clearance underneath the engine mount area. It definitely tucks in a lot more. In fact, I'll tell you right now, this thing only sticks out 4 inches. That's what she said. As you can see, this flange is tighter and it only sticks out 4 inches. So this is just about as close to the block as you can get. You know, actually, this is actually pretty promising for clearance. Let's grab the tube. Well, okay, that's actually pretty close. It's still a little bit off, but there is going to be a U-joint angle there. It's not hitting the flange, so that kind of gives me hope for the Camaro headers, because those definitely dip in a little bit more. This is kind of just like a flat sort of deal. Let's take a couple more measurements. This thing is less than 3 inches. I would say like 2 1/4 inches from the thing, so there's a ton of clearance here. Ton of clearance everywhere. You get a lot of clearance, you probably don't get a lot of flow. Yeah, these are actually pretty good. And the angle that these go out is up a little bit, so not straight down, and just parallel with the blocks. These are actually pretty cool. I guess these are kind of meant for clearance. These are kind of like when you give up and you're like, I can't fit any headers, so, oh, let's do one more measurement. Bottom of the flange, top of the pipe. We're looking at 9.5 inches, so a little bit further down than the truck manifold. All right, next up are the ones that I have my hopes set on the most, and these are the Camaro headers. Let's just, this is kind of the moment of truth here. Let's get this steering shaft, and let's see. Okay, yes, I think these are gonna work. I think we have a winner. Just right where this thing dips in is right where the shaft is supposed to land. That's awesome. That's a huge relief. And actually, these are the cheapest ones that I have here. I guess besides the free truck manifolds, these ones I got for $100 on Facebook Marketplace. That seems to be the going rate for these bad boys. So expect to spend about 100 clams for a set of these. Let's take some measurements from the block. I'll say that the part that dips in is right at like 3.5 inches. The flange pops out about 5.5 inches. So the overall pop out of these, if you have some really tight frame rails, these log manifolds are actually going to be better for you. And while we're here, I'll show you that this thing points absolutely flat and absolutely straight down. And that is going to be at right at about 9. Oh no, actually less than 9, maybe 8.5 inches from the top. And then right around your, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, these things are less than 3 inches, like 2 3/4 inches here. A lot of room underneath. These kind of have a reputation for being the easiest fitting manifolds. Flow-wise, it's kind of hard to say, but these came off of a Camaro SS with a 6.2 liter that made 426 horsepower. So they gotta flow okay. This is awesome. Let's go ahead and test fit these headers just for good measure. If these fit, I'll probably go with the headers. These are better both in weight and in power. So let's go ahead and try these guys. Okay, fourth up is the very, very common LS swap Shorty header, generic, whatever. And right off the bat, these absolutely have the best angle for downpipe, at least for my configuration and probably for a lot of configurations. These come out pretty much perfectly flat, even with the block, and it looks like something around a 45-degree angle. I mean, those are just dead nuts down the area because I was hoping to get the exhaust up over this cross member. I guess it doesn't really matter, but if this was a low truck, that would make all of the difference in the world. If the steering shaft wasn't a problem, these are probably what I would go with. But I think the steering shaft is going to be a problem. Oh yeah, it's not even close. One comment that I saw online was that the spark plug wires do not fit well, and there is a pretty tight clearance right here. I would be most worried about this one, maybe this one. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's do some measurements for you. These are actually pretty tight. Back here, we're looking at about 4 inches out, but up here, we're 6 inches. Like if this frame rail came up higher, this would actually get pretty close. Let's see what we got here. Kind of hard to show, but take my word for it. It's about 9 inches. I'm seeing a pattern here. They all seem to drop down about 9 inches. The fitment up here is actually the best I've seen. The price on these guys is about, I think, like less than $200, maybe 160, 180, somewhere around that. The quality seems okay. I would run them on my car. I don't know what that tells you. I don't know if I have the highest standards, but totally a bargain. Okay, last and least are these turbo manifolds. So right off the bat, the bolt hole does not line up. Yeah, it doesn't line up right here on this back one. I mean, it's close, but that's pretty lame. This is an LS engine. There's a bajillion of them out there, and they couldn't even get the bolt holes right. So not off to a good start quality-wise. I think that is pretty telling. Besides the truck manifolds, I think these things tuck in the least. We're at 6.5 inches. And these are also popping out at about 4. Bottom of this, top of cylinder, it's 9 inches. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. I thought that these were up higher when I saw the picture on Amazon. Like I thought these kind of swept straight back, and I thought I could sneak the thing under. I kind of had high hopes for these guys too. Oh, there's a dent on that. That could be from somebody getting these and then returning them back to Amazon, which is exactly what I'm going to do. The angle of this obviously is completely straight back. Fitment down here actually is pretty close to that engine mount. This is the closest. Oh, and this thing, I tightened this down. It seems like this flange is a little bit warped. I still think it would seal, but these ones are kind of, yeah, lowest quality manifold that I have. Okay, we got all of this firewall insulation ripped out, and the amount of mouse shit up there was disturbing. You know, this truck was actually still stinky, and I'm glad I found that, because that absolutely was like the nest. That was ground zero for whatever squirrels or mice or whatever was living in here. So got this all cleaned up, and I discovered this thing that I didn't know this truck had, which is a little handle that I guess you push here, and this, from what I can tell, opens a flap right here, I guess, to pull in fresh air, which is pretty cool. But oh my God, what a leaky thing that is. I can't imagine that ever kept water out. That's a cute idea, but stupid things like that are what killed these cars. And you can see that there's plenty of rust up here. And this was a desert car. It does not rain here that often. I'm not going to worry too much about fresh air because, for one, we have windows. That's obvious. And the other one is that I'm going to put air conditioning on this thing. It's going to be awesome. Going to have like more modern heat, AC. And I think that I've figured out where I'm going to put that box, which is where that's going to go. I'm going to put it right in the center. I might need to do some firewall clearance. That's all future Barry's problem. But for now, I think that I've decided that I want to put the fuse block over here on the passenger side, so I can start to lay out my engine wiring from that point, and we can start to build this harness. And this is the wiring harness from the Escalade. And right now I'm going to turn this standalone, which means that I'm gonna completely dissect this, take out anything I don't need. At the end of it, I'll end up with kind of a closed loop system and just a handful of wires that I need to integrate into the truck's wiring harness. Yeah, I don't think there's any good way to film this because it's gonna be me sitting there and very tedious. So enjoy a time lapse, and this is what it looks like, completely dissecting and stripping down an LS harness. Okay, I've got this thing de-loomed, meaning all of the loom has been taken off because I'm going to reuse that because I'm cheap. And now I'm going to start to disconnect stuff. Okay, here is what a completely dissected, stripped down LS harness looks like. I separated all of the bunches of wires apart. The idea being that I'm not going to be putting the wiring harness, exactly in the same location. On the Escalade, the computer was over on this side, it like went up the side or whatever. I'm not going to be doing that. As far as the computer goes, I'm not sure where I'm going to put that yet. Maybe in the cab. There's not a lot of room in here. The dashboard is almost non-existent. But this means I can start routing the wires. We'll get started on that, I guess. Okay, we got our new hole drilled. We got the electronic pedal and the gas pedal computer plugs through this guy. So now I just got to start plugging these things in where they go, extending if I need to, and pushing all of the excess into that hole. All right, we got all of the wires plugged in, almost all of them. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of wire just to these fuel injector wires. That way I can make sure the wiring harness is tucked and not all tight. The alternator is way too short. And then the coolant plug right here, just, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wires to lengthen. Everything else is the right amount or too much wire length, and too much is okay because we're just gonna tuck it all underneath the dash. So it still looks like a mess, but trust me, this is actually pretty solidly laid out. All right, we've got our wires stretched that we need to have stretched. And then, of course, we got this big boy here, this alternator charging wire. So besides the vast amount of pink wires that we have, which are all ignition power wires, those are going to be easy. I'm just going to combine all of those into a fuse block type thing that's going to go on the inside here. I'll worry about those later, but all of our sensor wires are good, so I can actually start to build this wiring harness. And this is going to be pretty cool because this will all go straight back, tuck behind the engine. It's going to look awesome. Pretty excited about it. So let's start constructing this harness. All right, we've got the wires pretty much routed. Transmission wires all down there. We've got this side all situated. I'm starting to run into the very ends of my little pink wires, which are the power wires for all the various things. And I'm gonna have to lengthen, not all of them. Some of these are long enough. Maybe, I don't even know if that's long enough. So let me take care of that and then we'll finish this thing off. Okay, so we got this thing rebuilt. It's looking awesome. I'm super happy with how this came out. Still have a long ways to go, of course, but this was a big step towards getting this thing to fire up for the first time.